I said to myself when my voice started coming back that this was going to be the first songs I sang, one of the first songs I sang. Haven't done it in a while, but I've done it several times. It's just one of my favorite songs. Allow yourself to just get into the space, move through this ocean of love and power and strength. You brought me out upon the water, the great unknown, where feet may fail. There I find you in the mystery, in oceans deep. My faith will stand, and I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours. You are mine. Oh, yeah. I love this verse. Your grace abounds in deepest waters. Your sovereign hand will be my guide. Where feet may fail and fear surrounds me, I am never failed, and you won't start now. I know that. And I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. Even when oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours, and you are mine. Oh, yes you are. Oh, you are mine. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the water wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever, and my faith will be made strong in your presence, my Creator. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the water wherever you call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in your presence, my Creator. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the water presence, I'll call upon your name. Keep my eyes above the waves. Even when the oceans try to rise, my soul will rest in that embrace. I know I am yours, and you are mine. Good morning. Welcome to One Love Consciousness Movement Sunday Morning Connection. I am honored to be with you, thankful for you being here today. We are in the midst of our Spirit Expressing season. Some of you are even participating, those of you who are One Love are even participating in First Unity Spiritual Campus's Spirit Expressing book study group. And I want to say thank you for participating in that. It's a wonderful season where we're talking about the power of awakening. And while we're in this series, this time of year, we always move toward the chakra system and bringing the chakra system back into alignment, clearing up the chakras. These are the power centers within the body that hold certain significant types of vibrational frequencies. You know, we've talked about the root chakra, the sacral, the solar plexus, and this week our focus, I'm wearing green, is on the heart chakra, which is called the Anahata. And so before we get into chatting about the Anahata, I want us to take a few moments and utilizing tone. Excuse me, there, look at that. I am totally interrupting to make an adjustment. Excuse me. Let's get into the intonation, the sound of the Anahata, which is the heart chakra. And that word in Sanskrit, Anahata, means unhurt, unstruck, unbeaten. So what I want us to do today is to tap into the heart chakra that sits, really, it's visualized as sitting behind the mechanism called the heart, which pumps blood, receives blood, and gives blood. It's constantly in motion with a movement and with a sound and with a beat. It has a incantation, a syncopation, and it's the metronome of the body. It keeps us in beat. And I want us to get in past that mechanism, the physical heart, and into the spiritual, what I'd like to call the spiritual or higher heart, that Anahata, which means unhurt, unstruck, unbeaten. And let me explain where I would like for us to go energetically for these next few moments. All of us understand what it is to experience what we call heartbreak and heartache. Many of us have gone through heartbreak and heartache. With maybe it's the loss of a loved one, it's the loss of a relationship. It's something that, you know, some of us have had a relationship before, or we're on the verge of having a relationship. We're still in love with somebody from back in the day. And there's that sort of part of us that feels like it's never been able to let go of that. The Anahata cannot be hurt in that way. It cannot be struck or harmed. It is the unbeaten part of us. It's the heart of us that is unbroken, unbeaten, unhurt, unstruck, indestructible. So when we're talking today about the heart of the matter, and we're talking about taming the ego, recognizing that we're all one, we're all a part of one heart, one love, one heart. Let's go into our own Anahata, which is again back behind the physical mechanical heart, the muscle. And let's get in touch with that deeper heart of us. Take just a moment now, if you will. Receive a deep breath. And release it. We're going to receive another deep breath, and you maybe want to place your hand over your heart, this heart space, this center within you. And It could be right in the center of your chest or right behind this mechanical muscle called the heart. We're going to breathe into it, and we're going to breathe into it this beautiful, vibrant green light, this pure green light of love, compassion, deep empathy and care. Into this heart space that cannot be hurt, that cannot be broken. Preparing now for another deep breath. Breathing in this green light of love and compassion. Breathing in. And exhale. Connecting here and now with this beautiful heart chakra. I know that this serves as the center of love. The center of love for myself and for others. The center of compassion, empathy, forgiveness, and even further than forgiveness, understanding. I sense and feel now unconditional love, compassion, a deep sense of kindness, joy. I know that this heart chakra is the bridge between heaven and earth. The earth chakras, which are below, and the heaven or higher consciousness chakras, which are above. This is the bridge. I notice within myself that the bridge between the seen and the unseen is always love, compassion, heart. I allow myself now to feel unconditional, complete, and total love. Nothing withheld. Nothing missing. Nothing broken. Love. Love. Sweet love. And now I invite that powerful love that is signified by a green, glowing, glorious light, that love to expand out from the heart space, to expand upwards to the throat, to the third eye and the crown chakra, covering the head, the neck, and the rest of the chest area, and then reaching down into the solar plexus, the sacral, down to the root, from the root all the way down my legs and all the way down to my feet. This healing, regenerating, revitalizing, restoring vibrational frequency of love. And in this moment right here, right now, I declare that I am love. I don't just love. I am not just loved. I am love. And imagine, if you will now, with your mind's eye, that you see yourself standing in front of yourself on the screen of your imagination. And you are completely and totally engulfed, enveloped by this green light of love and compassion, glowing from head to toe. Every cell in your body ignited with this power of love. 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 And I'll invite us into another couple of deep breaths as we prepare to come back into the space, preparing our hearts to hear a message today that can quite possibly revolutionize our lives. And if nothing else, can certainly bring us back into an open-hearted way of being. So preparing for a deep breath, breathing into the Anahata, breathe in. And exhale. And one more deep breath into the Anahata. Breathe in. And exhale. And now begin to wiggle your toes and your fingers and maybe stretch a little bit and prepare to come back into the space, the room where you're seated or lying down. Become aware of all of the sounds in the space. And as you feel so inclined, go ahead and gently, slowly open up your eyes. And here we are back in this space together, surrounded by and enveloped by love. Sweet, unconditional love. And how beautiful that is. So we're in our Spirit Expressing series, The Power of Awakening. And today I want to speak to you on a subject that I would title The Heart of the Matter. Why does the heart matter? Obvious to the center of our physical being is the heart, of course. But again, that heart can break. It can have attacks. It can have massive heart attacks. But this Anahata, it is so much deeper, stronger, more powerful, more agile, more strong and powerful than even the human heart is. And the human heart is quite complex and powerful. But this Anahata that's within us is the heart of our spiritual conscious being. That is the reason that it's unhurt, unstruck, and unbeaten is because it is the eternal part of us. In fact, it's the guiding force of the universal principle and presence that is within us, showing up as us in the world. This is the power of love, the power of compassion, the power of showing up, and that's why it's the heart of the matter. But just a little bit of a sort of a run back through the last few weeks. This journey through the chakras begins at the root chakra. And this part of us is the foundation. It's kind of like I like to say it's like the sturdy tree that anchors us deep into the earth. It's the grounded chakra. It helps us to stay grounded, and that's the root chakra. And then when you move on up, we end up reaching the sacral chakra, and that's the flowing energy of water. It's the flowing energy of water that inspires our creativity and our passion, and it invites us to explore and express our true and authentic selves. We talked about that, the root and the sacral working together toward a grounded ability to show up unapologetically as me. And then the next we encounter the solar plexus. It's often described as the fire in the belly. This is the fuel, the strength within us. The resilience that we have to endure all of even the hardships. This is the vibrant energy that propels our grounded creativity into meaningful action, so that we're not just grounded and not moving anywhere. We're not just creative and floating around everywhere. But the solar plexus causes those two to work together. Those three end up working together toward what we call meaningful action. It gives us the motivation that we need to start to pursue our dreams and aspirations, our creativity, and know that there's always that space for needing that root system that helps us to do this powerfully. But as we rise above the solar plexus, we start to get into the heart chakra. And this is actually an air element. We embrace this air element. Here we understand that love and compassion, there are connection to ourselves and to others. And that's the connection that starts to flourish. It flourishes within us when the heart is wide open, when it's operating at optimum. But here's what's cool. It's an air sign, and just like air, the air that surrounds us at all times, love is the invisible yet powerful force that flows through and between us all. Just like air, it's everywhere. There's plenty of it. You can't run out. You're not going to suffocate because you're not going to run out. Love, this anahata that's represented again by air as an air symbol, is plenty. It flows to us, through us, for us. It's between us. And by keeping our hearts open and allowing love to flow freely, we start to really embody this element and start to live with the power of this love in us, through us, as us, working between us and the rest of the world around us, and that includes all sentient beings. Air is represented by our breath, which is the most essential and often overlooked function of our existence. It reminds us of our shared life force with every other being on the planet. As we breathe in and we breathe out, we feel this sense of connection with the unseen energies that weave through our lives. It creates a sense of spacious consciousness as well, because we understand that space is just open air. It's a spacious consciousness, and it invites us to be present and aware as we operate in this life. When we live open-hearted, we start to find that love is flowing freely to us, for us, through us. Ultimately, it then begins to show up as us. I believe that when we nurture, we curate, we nurture, we cultivate love, and we start to fully embody love, this essence of love, we start to show up as love in human form. There's a scripture in the Bible, 1 John 4:8, that says God is love. So when we are acting in love, we are acting like God does. In fact, we are acting as God ambassadors in the world when we act loving, when we live the power of love. And when we have an open heart, it leads to what I would like to jump on today, to three things that really stand out to me. Number one is compassion. And I know I have talked about love infinitum, and that sometimes you might get tired of hearing about it from me. But I got to be honest with you, I don't ever get tired of talking about it. I believe that love is the central and most important thing. I said this a few weeks ago at First Unity, that love is the most powerful and endless natural resource that we have. See, I've decided to make not just love, but compassion a core value, because I believe that compassion is a core value that leads to a meaningful life, a life that is meaningful. Life doesn't have meaning. You bring meaning to it. And when you're showing up as hatred, you're showing up as doubt, fear, delusion, as a result of that, you put that kind of meaning into the world, and it starts to grow this really toxic, poisonous environment, this poisonous air. If you will, if you consider that the heart chakra is connected to the air signs and the air symbol, just think about if you're contaminating the air, what happens to those around you. You have to breathe in that vibrational frequency that you show up as. But see, compassion is more than just feeling. It's more than just a stance. It's a deep-seated value. It's a value that really shapes who we are and how we show up, and whether we affect or infect the world, and how we interact with the world. Compassion it's not just a feeling or a stance. See, the Bhagavad Gita says it this way, reminds us these words: true devotion and compassion means harboring no hatred and embracing kindness towards everything and everyone, free from the constraints of our ego. The thing is, I've said to you before, you're not going to get rid of the ego. You're not going to diminish it or kill it, but you can certainly put it in its place. The ego, you can't kill something that doesn't exist. It's an illusion, but it's an energy that's felt, often dealt between us and other people. There is a way to take that ego energy and simply metamorphosize it, simply shift it, create fuel from it. Instead of the ego being useless, if it's going to be a part of our illusion and delusion, we may as well utilize its power. It gives us the ability at times to have extra strength and extra fuel in our life. I believe that when we embrace kindness towards everyone, when we embrace compassion towards everyone, we become less and less bound by the ego. Here's something that I was thinking about after reading this from the Gita. And so I wrote it down this way. When we see compassion merely as a position, we start to wear it like a badge, an accessory. And here's the thing, an accessory that we can remove when it no longer serves the agenda. If we treat it as an emotion, we find ourselves neglecting it when something else captures our attention. But when compassion is woven into the very fabric of our existence, it transforms us. It becomes an enduring force of love, an enduring force of truth that guides our actions and influences those around us for the better. Let me go back to that. If you treat compassion like a position, you're going to wear it like a badge. But it's an accessory that can be removed if it no longer serves your particular agenda. Some people use compassion as a platform. Politicians know how to do this well. Know how to be compassionate when they're trying to get votes. But the moment that it doesn't serve the agenda anymore, they'll shift away from it, take that badge off. If it's an accessory that you can just be removed, then it's not a part of your beingness. If you treat it like an emotion, you know how quickly emotions change. As soon as your attention is drawn away and you move from that feeling of, oh, I just feel so compassionate around that, and then somebody ticks you off, all of a sudden you realize that you can get rid of it when something else captures your attention. But if we live compassion, we make it a discipline, it gets woven into the fabric of our existence. We become compassion. Then we're transformed. Because it becomes an enduring force. It becomes the guiding principle of our actions, and it starts to influence us and everyone else around us. This message that we find in the Christian Bible, Colossians 3 and 12, I think echoes this sentiment to me personally by urging us to fully embody qualities like compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. You find that in Colossians 3 and 12. That we should be embodying compassion, and that means to completely embrace it, bring it into your being. Let every cell in your being be stamped with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. The thing is when we do that, we start to find out that these traits are not just ideals, but that they are vital to our well-being and to the well-being of everyone else we come in contact with, everyone else we're sharing our lives with. That's what I'm saying. When we live open-hearted, we will have a positive affect on our world. But if we live closed-hearted, we will have a negative infect. We will infect the world with negativity, with fear, with anxiety, with hatred, with dishonesty, distrust. And before we know it, the ego is completely taken over. Now, there was some research from leading scientists at UCLA, and they highlight the profound benefits of compassion, not just for those we help, but also for us as well, our own individuals. Compassionate individuals, they said, are extra resilient to stress. They become impervious to stress, and they enjoy a stronger immune system. It says they navigate social situations with ease, making them less susceptible to isolating effects of loneliness. So if you live a compassionate life, you actually have a stronger immune system. You become impervious to all of the craziness that goes on from the media and from politics and from religion that tries to divide us from each other. You start to live that oneness. And when you live that oneness, you're directly connected to it, never disconnected, which means you're not in dis-ease, but you're living a life of ease. And that's as a result of being irrevocably and eternally connected to the loving element, the most powerful natural resource that we have. So what does it truly mean to be compassionate? What does compassion really involve? Well, here's what I believe. It begins with recognizing when someone else is suffering. So it's not just love in general, but I start to really empathize and sympathize with someone else who's suffering. It's about feeling a genuine emotional response to their pain and then acting with intention to alleviate that suffering. See, by embracing compassion as a fundamental value, as a core value, you enrich your own life and you create a ripple effect of kindness and understanding in the world. As Marianne Williamson said, love is what we were born with. Fear is what we've learned here. Love and compassion is what we're born with. Fear is what we've learned here. Love brings us into a higher level of understanding, a higher level of kindness. And then, as we live open-hearted, we find a sense of empathy. As was mentioned up here, when I asked you what is compassion, what does it truly involve? A deep level of empathy. Empathy is all about connecting with others. It's about connecting on an emotional and a spiritual level. It's that special ability to really understand what someone else is going through, to seek to understand. As it says in the prayer of St. Francis, one of my favorite prayers of all, may I not so much seek to be understood, but seek to understand. When I'm entering a conversation with somebody, and maybe the conversation has conflict, how can I seek to understand them more than trying to force them to understand me? Empathy leads us to a life of more understanding, where someone else is coming from, what they're going through, seeing the world through their eyes, feeling their emotions as if they were our own emotions. Man, it's like stepping into their shoes. You know the old saying, walk a mile in my shoes and you might understand me? It's a true story. It's like stepping into their shoes. It's about experiencing their joys, experiencing their sorrows, feeling their struggles, being willing to be open-hearted enough to notice when other people are dealing with pain, dealing with loss, dealing with discouragement, dealing with trauma, whether it's trauma from the physical, sexual, emotional, or religious abuse, to be able to connect with them on that level. At the heart of empathy, we really are reminded of the golden rule that says, do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. And did you know that the thing that nearly every major religion in the world agrees on is that very principle? Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. There are some of those golden rules that say, if you know that it would cause suffering to you, don't do that to anyone else. This is a way to start relieving the planet of its suffering. Because in the end, we're all a part of the same human story. Whether you like it or not doesn't matter. You're a part of the human story. And when you start to nurture your ability to empathize and imagine yourself in someone else's position, you start to discover that the world is full of connections. We have so much more in common than we do not in common. We're so much closer to each other than we even realize. It's like all of a sudden when you live an empathetic and a compassionate life, the door swings open. You start to see the beauty of the human experience. And you start to see the depth of that beauty, the different cultures, the different belief systems, and you start to welcome them into your space. And as you do that, the heart opens up even more. Listen, the mind can get closed, but don't close your heart. As Ram Dass used to say, you may close your mind off to someone, but never be found closing your heart to anyone. In Paul's letter, in Peter's letter actually, 1 Peter chapter 3, 8 through 9, he says this, finally, everyone, let's embrace a sense of unity, oneness, show compassion, don't just say it, and care for one another with love and with humility. Instead of responding to negativity with more negativity, let's choose kindness and blessings, because that's what we were meant to do. Now, that's my own translation of the letter of Peter. I'll read that back to you again, though. Finally, everyone, let's embrace a sense of unity, oneness, show compassion and care for one another with love and with humility. Instead of responding to negativity with more negativity, let's choose kindness, compassion, and blessings, because that's what we're meant to do. Pat yourself on the chest and say, I'm meant to be compassionate and to be empathetic. I'm meant to be compassionate and to be empathetic. See, I realize in my life that as I begin to embody and embrace fully these ideals, I see my life transforming. I see clarity coming into my pathway. I see less stress and more peace. I see unity and less division. Empathy, more than sympathy, seeks to truly understand. Empathy, more than sympathy, seeks to truly understand where someone else is coming from. And number 3, forgiveness. There's a power in forgiveness. The weak can't forgive. The strong are able to. Forgiveness has nothing to do with absolving a criminal of his or her crimes. Forgiveness is not an occasional act, but it's a permanent attitude. Without forgiveness, life is governed by an endless cycle of resentment and retaliation. In order for us to have a more compassionate, equitable, kind, resilient, and healthy world, we're going to need to learn what forgiveness really is. And here's what I believe. I believe forgiveness is necessary until you can reach a higher consciousness of awakening that brings you into a higher level of understanding. Because as you understand, you don't practice forgiveness anymore because you realize there's nothing to forgive. That the truth is that we're all just trying to do what we can to make it through this life. We're all trying to figure our own way out, often in the dark, because many have not found that lamp unto their feet and light unto their path. And it's more important for me to shine a lamp into their feet and light unto their path than it is for me to shine a light in their face that would further blind them. But it's important to remember that forgiveness should not be an occasional act, but it should be a permanent attitude. As it becomes a permanent attitude, again, that understanding comes. And we start to live the wisdom of the ages and the sages. And we show up as a deep sense of understanding. Catherine Ponder said this: the forgiving state of mind is magnetic power for attracting good into your life. Again, Catherine Ponder, the forgiving state of mind is a magnetic power for attracting good into your life. And one of my favorite forgiveness quotes by Mark Twain says, forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet sheds on the heel that has crushed it. When we hold on to resentment, there is a resistance in us, and what we resist will persist. When we hold on to resentment, it's like being tied to that person or that event, that situation by an unbreakable chain. And you can finally break free from those chains through forgiveness and through understanding. Forgiveness is actually the key that unlocks the lock on that chain and sets you free. And once you let go, once you open up your heart again to a deeper understanding through forgiveness, allowing you to live with an open heart, once the heart is open, you can start to experience a greater degree of understanding. And then forgiveness is no longer even necessary, as I mentioned a moment ago. It'll be replaced with the source, with this prayer that Jesus even prayed in the seven sayings on the cross, where Jesus said, "Source, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Jesus said, "Father, forgive them." And I say, Father, Mother, Source, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That is the highest level of consciousness. To be able to say, I know that what you're doing is beyond your full understanding, so I release you from it automatically. Jesus gives us that example on the cross while he's being crucified. He's not dead yet. He's still in pain, still being tortured by the pain, and looks down on all of those who drove nails into his wrists and feet, looks down on all of those who are mocking, and says these words, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." That is open-hearted. That is the anahata. Think about how resentment and bitterness can weigh us down. It can prevent us from really truly enjoying this life because we're constantly living through the filter of the past. Resentment and bitterness, they create a heaviness, a burden inside of us. And they block us from experiencing our calm, experiencing our peace, experiencing our stillness. We all want to experience that. Letting go of those feelings leads us to a more full and joyous life. And we start to live completely and totally open-hearted.
we recognize that then that chakra is open. That's the heart of the matter. And as the heart is wide open, it starts to materialize the blessings that are available in this life. And then it begins to tame the ego. It reminds us of the deep knowing that ultimately we all are one. And when you harm another, you're essentially harming yourself. And did you know, feelings of resentment and bitterness are violent feelings. They ultimately lead to violence. So I'm encouraging us during this time of talking about, being in conversation with, and in the energy of awakening, the power of awakening. During this spirit expressing season, let's let our spirits express and impress on the cells of our being an open-heartedness, a deep sense of compassion, a deep sense of empathy, and a deep sense of forgiveness that leads to understanding. And as we do that, we start to see our world changes. Don't just wear compassion like a badge. Don't just have an emotional connection to compassion. Let me remind you, if it's a badge, you can take it off when there's something else that presents itself. If it's an emotion, as soon as your attention is taken away toward anger or something else, then again, you shift and you drop it off. But if it's woven into the fabric of your being, by choice to practice it, then it can't be distorted or taken away from you, because it's a part of the fabric of your being. It is habitually practiced. You live the discipline of compassion, empathy, forgiveness, and deep understanding. So today and through the rest of this week, I encourage you like never before, especially leading up to this election and all of the war and the pain and the hatred and the violent threats in the world. I encourage you, press deep into that anahata. And remember that that's the heart, because some people will be afraid. They're like, I can't live open-hearted. You're not opening up your emotional heart. You're opening up your spiritual heart that is unstruck, that is unharmed, that is unbeaten, that's unhurt, that cannot be pierced, that cannot be harmed. That heart should always stay wide open, even when the mind shuts down. Set the alarm to wake up. Wake up to that open heart. Holy Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity to remind us to live compassionately, not just say it, not just talk about it. This truth of living compassionately, of living with a deep sense of empathy, and living forgiveness as an attitude, not just an occasional thing. This is not necessarily easy. It's a little bit of a challenge. But it tames the ego, and it causes us to begin to live at a higher level of the knowing of our oneness, our connection, the irrevocable connection to consciousness, to the eternal source. Remind us to always be returning to love, because ultimately that is our home. As we leave out of this space today, I thank you. Thank you for guiding us through the rest of this week, giving to us the love that you are and the love that you have for all of us. We say thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Well, listen, I'm getting up out of here now. Those of you who are interested in helping with the Hurricane Relief Fund that we have at First Unity Spiritual Campus, go to firstunity.org/give, and you can donate to that fund if you would like to. For those directly connected to our community, First Unity community here, so that we can help financially all that we can while they're waiting for FEMA and for other organizations that have been set up to help them. We want to be a part, sort of a bridge to help them to be able to feel a little sense of relief. And some it just makes them feel better, it makes them feel seen. And so we want to be able to help folks. And if you're interested in that, please go to firstunity.org/give. Also, don't forget that One Love Consciousness movement also needs your financial contributions. I want you to consider today giving, whether it's $20, $100, $10, $5, $1,000, $1 million, whatever you want to give. Seriously, it is a tax deduction, and it also helps us to continue doing what we're doing. I hear the music getting started, so I'm going to get up out of here now. Go and make it a great day because you can. Peace.